Mainstream media, they make it very easy to shit on them all the time about just how left-leaning they are. I mean, I shouldn't even say leaning. They are all the way in far left radicals. But I said earlier, I like to give credit where credit is due, okay? And every now and again, you'll come across someone who actually asks a question that's on everyone's minds, who doesn't care that they're going to perhaps upset the person that they're speaking to, that they're interviewing. And they're like, you know what? I'm going to say what's on everyone's mind. I'm going to ask the tough questions, even if it gets a little tense. Like, did Bill Gates get an STD from his parties with Jeffrey Epstein and then later on go try to forcibly in secret give his wife antibiotics? That is a pressing question. And Bill Gates actually sat down. I don't know why he's like, oh, I know. I have this big scandal and the Epstein files just dropped. I'm going to sit down and do an interview with a news network. But he did. He sat down for an interview with an Australian news network, and the reporter, by gosh, actually asked him about it. Watch.
You've no doubt seen the allegations, including some of them from the last 24 to 48 hours. Are they true?
No, apparently Jeffrey wrote an email to himself. That email was never sent. The email is, false. So I don't know what his thinking was there. Was he trying to attack me in some way? But, it just reminds me, every minute I spent with him, I regret and I, apologize that I did that.
The problem is some of the things that he has sent and some of the information about other people that has come up in those files has been true. Why would he do this and say this about you, do you think?
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so,
right.
The more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
Right, I'm sure. He's it's really actually great to see him squirm in this interview. And I keep looking at his expressions and his demeanor, and I'm like, I want to know what he is thinking, what is going on in his mind. So we decided to reach out to a body language expert who can give us some insight. Scott Rouse is a world-leading body language expert and behavior analyst. He is part of the group, the Behavior Panel. Welcome to the show, Scott. What an amazing topic to be here for. First time on Sara Gonzales Unfiltered to talk about whether or not Bill Gates was squirming in his chair while being asked if he gave his wife an STD from Russian hookers.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like shooting, fish in a barrel, to sound corny, but yeah, it's a tough one for him. But shoot, he leans right into it. So
yeah, I mean, so you see things that we can't. You're the expert. I'm not. I obviously have my own opinion, but I want you to break down in the clip we just watched what you see as the expert in the room from Bill Gates' reaction when he asks about the STD stuff.
Okay, well, this is a prepared answer. He knows he's going to be asked these questions. Why would they want to have an interview with him? Or maybe he set it up. Maybe he knows this guy. I don't know. But this is a prepared answer. We know that because the structure of his sentences is different than the sentences that are structured for just talking. This is a fairly long interview, and I watched the whole thing. And if you'll watch before this, if you ever get a chance, then you'll notice the sentences are longer and they're flowing. And we call that loping, when someone's just loping along as he answers questions. There's not as many ahs or uhs and things like that. He starts this thing with his head where he's going back and forth with his head. He'll shake his head no, but then he'll shake his head yes, and he'll go back and forth. We call that bobblehead. And when that happens, that person's got, he's actually restructuring or structuring a sentence or his delivery of the sentence of what he's going to talk about. He doesn't seem shocked when the question comes up. He seems prepared for it. That's another thing. Usually we look for things called adapters, little things we do to get rid of that built-up stress and tension. It'll be anything from doing something like this to touching your face. He'll do that with his glasses. He does this. And it's just a little adjustment, but it helps get rid of that built-up stress that he's feeling that's building from this. Because when he's delivering this thing, he's thinking about what he's saying as he's saying it. It's really odd because he's prepared this answer. Mm-hmm. And most of the time people think, oh, I can tell when someone's lying because they break eye contact with me. In this interview beforehand, he's all the time looking around and talking, and then he'll look at the interviewer and then he'll look around and talk. Here, he's mostly looking at, he's not eye locked, but he's mostly paying attention to the guy asking the questions. So that lets us know that he's really focused on these because he knows it's important. When someone looks away, they're not being deceptive most of the time. What they're doing is they're just thinking. That's all that's going on there. Most people think you break eye contact and it means you're lying.
Yeah.
In this situation, he doesn't break eye contact as much as he did earlier. So that's a red flag for me as well. His illustrators, the things that your brain emphasizes specific words and phrases when you talk, like I did just then, specific words and phrases. When those don't land on the words when you're talking, or they get out there and they just sit there like that, then something's up as well. That also lets you know there's inner dialogue going on because your brain is saying, man, we're lying. We shouldn't be doing this. And he's thinking that as he's thinking what he's going to say as he delivers what he's saying. There are so many things that happen when someone is under a situation like this. Their stress level rises. We see so many things that tell us that he's prepared for this, like we were talking about a second ago, but that it's stressful for him because we see he makes these little, he doesn't have Parkinson's or anything like that. And these aren't intention tremors that somebody gets when they're reaching for something, they'll start have a little tremor. These are from nervousness. If you look really closely, you see his head shaking really quickly and his shoulders shaking really quickly. It's really small, but they're there as well. But that comes from the stress, the buildup that keeps building as he's asked these questions about this.
And I would imagine that it's red flags that he keeps fumbling over his, because as you point out, if this is a prepared answer, there's no reason for you to stumble on your words like that.
Right. And because he's restructuring to make sure he's as he's speaking, he's listening to himself. I just did it then when I had that pause because you're making sure everything you're saying is correct and you're getting your point across. But he's making extra sure because he knows how important this is. And I'm sure this is the only reason he's done this interview because he knows those questions are going to come up. The interview with his ex-wife just came out, and there's a lot of focus on that as well. So he's prepared for this, and there's no way that somebody that's been on the world stage like he has for so long and is so experienced with talking to the world that he wouldn't prepare for this. I'm sure he's been up early, got up early today or yesterday, whenever this thing was, and got ready for this. And he's got his everything blocked and ready to go for his answers. No matter what you ask him about Epstein, he's got an answer for it.
Yeah.
He's got a good answer for it.
Well, you say he was probably up early. I don't even know if he has slept since the Epstein files dropped. Honestly, he's probably been like, oh no. So I want to play the moment that he was first asked about Epstein.
Part of that issue of trust brings me to Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know what your relationship with him was.
Yeah, I met Jeffrey in 2011. So over a period of 3 years, I had a number of dinners with him. The focus was always, he knew a lot of very rich people, and he was saying he could get them to give money to global health. You know, in retrospect, that was a dead end, and I've said many times, but I'll say again, I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
So what say you on whether or not he regrets it based on that body language there?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he regrets doing it. He regrets getting caught. That's the look of that. That's the way that looks. Now, what's happening here is when he's asked about it, we can tell nothing changes in his face. He's got that little smile on his face. Nothing changes because he's prepped for it. He knows something like that's coming. And when it does, he's ready. And when he breaks eye contact here, there's nothing to looking down to the right or to the left, and it means you're lying or telling the truth or anything like that. When we break eye contact and look down to one side or the other, up or down or whatever, that just means we're thinking about our answer, recalling something. So in this situation, you'll see him break away in each section that he talks about, the 3 sections there, he'll break away and think about, he'll be remembering what he's supposed to say, what he's rehearsed. It happens really quickly when you do something like that. So that's what we're seeing in that situation there. Then as he goes through, again, you'll see him at the third one, you'll see him lock eyes with the interviewer, and they don't go away very much at all because he knows this has to be good, and he knows what he's going to say. There's not much to it there. It can flow better for him. But he's speaking, his cadence is much faster than it was throughout the rest of the interview. Because when something like this happens, it's stressful, of course, but you want to get through it fast. Now, he's not talking as fast as I'm talking because I'm a fast talker, but he's talking much faster than he was in the rest of the interview. And he's not as loud as he was in the rest of the interview either, because when he talks, I don't know if he's got a hearing problem or what, but he talks like he's yelling almost. So it gets kind of loud, but in here you can hear it's a little bit, it's probably 3 or 4 dB lower than what's been happening so far. At the end of some of these things, like in the very end of this interview, or this section of questions, it gets quieter at the end of those questions. And that's because we call that fading facts, because your brain's saying, hey man, hang on a minute, we're lying, we shouldn't be saying this. So it gets quieter as you go along.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow, that is okay. This is fascinating. So then let me ask you about this one. Again, credit where credit is due. The reporter, I think, did a pretty decent job of follow-up questions, even though Bill Gates was pretty uncomfortable. And so he asked about Epstein one more time. Watch.
Is it frustrating to you, given what you've said, that this is now happening?
Not really. I mean, people should, hold people who are successful to a very high bar. And so, it's, as these documents come out, they're going to be closely scrutinized.
Really? He's not frustrated at all?
Yeah, that you'd have to be insane to think that wouldn't cause stress, or that wouldn't frustrate you, especially with what's going on around that, the things orbiting what's happening there. Epstein's the biggest story in ever. He's in the middle of it. His wife just gave an interview, and she's talking about what she thinks about what happened. People are asking her questions, so of course it's frustrating. He didn't want to hear that. And this is the first time we actually hear him when he hits his leg, when he puts his hand back down really hard. He doesn't realize that he's doing that, but that's called an adapter as well, because he's got all that stress happening and he accidentally slaps his leg. For somebody like that answer is almost the perfect question to be given, because he's used to answering things like that. That's all fluff there. There's really not much there. He's just talking about, successful people should be responsible. We expect this and we know that they should be held up to this. So that's normal for him. And I think I've heard him actually say something similar to that before. So that one's he's got that one loaded all the time. He's ready to go. So that one wasn't as stressful as the others, although I think he's got the feeling that's the last of it because of the way the question was posed, or they're getting toward the end of it. So I think that's why he was a little more relaxed in that as well.
I just feel like a normal, like if you're a normal person who, I don't know, say, call me crazy, but you never went and had sex with Russian hookers and gave your wife an STD and then tried to secretly drug her, you would say, if it's me, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because I didn't do anything, and now I have to I have to convince everyone that I didn't do these things. I feel like it would be a very normal behavior. People would understand if he would just admit, yes, I'm frustrated. That wouldn't necessarily mean that you did it, right?
Right. And there would be anger there. We don't see any anger in him at all. We don't see anything happening up in the forehead, up in the brow. We see some concern there, but we don't see any grief. The grief muscle happens when these two muscles in your brow push together, in the glabella, we call that group of muscles, they push together, and this comes down. It makes this upside down horseshoe looking thing. And that's what happens. We see that when someone is in a great deal of pain, or someone in their family has passed away, or a friend, that kind of thing. They're grieving over something, or something's really bothering really bad. We'll see that. We don't see that here at all. Nothing like that. And there should be anger here. If you didn't do that and you're being accused of it, there'd be all kinds of doing this kind of thing. And then he'd be hitting his leg. He'd be sitting up straight saying, let me tell you something.
Yep.
That's because people don't act that way when they're not being accused of something. If they didn't do it, you're going to see anger in there. We're not seeing any, not even a little bit.
Yeah, exactly right. I think we all know why. All right, last thing here, Scott. Let's scrutinize the documents. Okay, so he said he never met any women with Jeffrey Epstein. I believe, there's there appears to be a woman and redacted face. Now, I know you're a body language expert. I don't guess that you could tell if this is the woman who gave him the STD.
Who knows? I don't know.
And you,
can't
well,
tell.
you can't see her face, so that's not even a fair question for you because then you can't read
Right.
her body language and her face. She is leaning into him. It does seem rather friendly, I would say. But
Yeah.
I won't put you on the hot seat with that too much. Tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me at just scottrouse.com or on YouTube. Just put in Scott Rouse and my channel will pop right up.
Yeah, I love that. You've got a bunch of YouTube play buttons behind you. Obviously,
Oh,
Scott
yeah.
Rouse is the real deal. He's got all the YouTube play buttons to prove it. So make sure to follow him. This is actually really fascinating, and I appreciate your time. Will you come back soon?
Yes, I'd love to. I'd love to.
Wonderful, perfect.
Just let me know.
I love. This is. I mean, I'm a woman, so I do love a certain level of gossip. I can't help it. So I appreciate you, Scott. We'll do it
I
again
get it.
soon. Make sure to
Okay.
follow Scott on YouTube and follow him at his website,